Hello, welcome to an episode of Bob's Bus Rescue. Let's see what we can break today. Hello people of the internet, welcome to the vlog of the restoration of my VW camper van bus. It's a 1976 Westphalia. It's a lovely bus. We've had it for many years. Bought it in 2005. Had young children, gone camping. Children have grown up. Now found myself in a position where a few years ago had problems with the engine and had to take the engine out. Then found that it needed a rebuild. I also had wheel arches going, and so I'm at the stage where the engine is rebuilt, the gearbox is rebuilt. Had them running inside the bus. Everything's good there. Now at the stage, need to do adjust the bodywork. And there's been some interesting turn-ups with the bodywork. Some very strange things have happened with this bus. It's funny how when you dig into the life of an old vehicle, the things that you find that have happened to it just by uncovering things, are things that have happened to it in my ownership as well. I've had a situation with beehive inside the chassis rails. It was imported from California, so the beehive would have been there. Beehive or wasp's nest, one or the other. It would have been there when the bus came over California, but it's been here since 2005. Moisture's got at it and it's caused certain places rust out. I've also discovered that there's been some sort of accident with the front end of the bus as I've stripped everything out, but we'll get into that as I give you a tour of the bus. Let's go. Right, so she is a 1976 VW Westphalia camper van. Lives in a bit of I have a timber garage. It's a bit on the small side, but it's a lot bigger than a lot of people have. So she's all stripped out at the moment. I've stripped out the dash panel and the steering. The electrics are all stripped out. I need to strip out the windows because the seals are very old. Sorry, it's a bit dark in there. I'll get some light in a moment. But yes, there's a lot of work going on and has gone on as well. So if I move that out of the way, I will close the door too. So we have some issues with bodywork. We've got a bit of sort of rust pocking going on there and down here. So we're going to replace that arch, just the outer. I don't believe I need to do any more than the outer. But we'll find out, because as often happens with these old VW camper vans is you start to dig into the issues and you find other things. The bottom of the sliding door here has also got some rust pock marks on there. It's always had that. If you look from the inside, you can actually... very dark. So we'll look down there. You can see it's sort of rusty along the bottom of the rail. You can actually get an inner part for here, and also the outer skin. Just a very small section, about I think it's about 4 inches at the bottom, which I'll do. There's various areas inside the bus where I've just done some rust treatment because the steel was very solid. Also have this area here. This is a big hole in the floor that I cut the floor panel out there because the channel section that comes there, which is part of the chassis rail, and the actual torsion bar outer housing had rotted away at the centre point. And what had actually happened was this part around here had become full of beehive. So here we go. We've got well, I've had to cut away the chassis here because it's all rotten, but I do actually have replacement parts which I'm going to cut in and fit. But this is what's actually happened, and this has been found throughout this sort of leg of the chassis. This is actually a wasp's nest, and I think because it's a California bus, beehive, believe it or not. Yeah, so and that's been a bit of an issue. I've had a few issues with beehive on this bus. So the beehive it's got inside there, and it must have been in there when the bus, it's a California bus, it must have been in there when it originally came over in 2004. It wasn't imported by myself. I bought it but from somebody who had imported it. It's got moisture in there and it just rotted out. Similar things happened in the rear chassis rails at the back of the bus as well, and across the rear valance, and I'll show you that in a moment. The rest of the bus itself is actually in really good condition. So we've got the wheel arches which are gone, which are normal for this sort of type of bus. So if I reach the camera around, if I put the light in there, you can all see that. You can see the wheel. So the bottom of the wheel arch tub has gone, and also the outer here has gone along here. So we'll do a panel replacement across there, similar sort of size possibly to what we'll be doing on the door. And then there's also some bubbling here, difficult to see with the light. So this rear quarter I was going to change, but I've also on this rear quarter got other issues around the back, because at the back of the bus this is where I've had the issue with the inner valance and outer valance, where the outer valance just bubbled up and blew out, and the inner valance, well, this is completely disappeared from because of cushion. This part here was completely just feathered and disintegrated, and that's because this is where the beehive was. A massive amount of beehive in here. There was also beehive in the rear chassis rail here, which I've cut away the outer side, and I'll show you that there. But you can see here where it's all pockmarked. I've stripped it all back and done rust removal treatment on it, but I found that it's basically going to need to be replaced. But I don't want to replace the whole of the valance section because it knits in. You know, you've got the chassis number here on the bus itself. Another original part of the engine bay I'd rather keep with because they're in good condition. So I'm going to take the principle of I'll cut this around about midway and then weld that in there. I do like to keep as much original steel as I possibly can. The other thing we've got going on here, I'll show you underneath in a moment, is the fact that we've got the pieces, the tube pieces that live inside the bus here on the inside of the quarter panel. They've rotted away at the bottom. It's a fairly standard thing. I actually have the replacement end pieces there. They actually sell them as an end piece because it's a fairly normal thing to happen to these buses. It's happened on both sides. So you can see on the inside here where I've taken bits off to investigate. That all needs taking out and replacing. So here we have on the inside here, this is the back left-hand rear chassis rail, and you can see here I've cut this piece out here because it had completely gone. This is all in good condition. This is all great. You can see where it's gone here. That piece there is actually part of the rear valance. So the valance comes round there, and that's part of this here. So that's all got to go. So I'll have to cut the back of the quarter panel out at the back here to give me access to this area. And they all these pieces interleaf with one another and overlap. So I've got to unpick all this, get the battery tray out the way as well. It's actually very solid, the battery tray. I'll check it to see if it's worth putting back in. If not, I'll just replace it. I do actually have a replacement one for it. I accidentally bought one for the opposite side, but I'd actually bought this one, so I have to buy another one for that side. So I've got both of them anyway, so I may just replace it anyway. Then you can see here where there's other issues, where you got the usual corroding of the wheel tub arch here. Really quite bad on this side here, just at the bottom of the panel. But the actual tub itself is in great condition because I had it in its entire life that I've had it. I completely undersealed it, and it's actually in really good condition. And you can see around here that's all in good condition. Even the weld seam seal is still in place there. But if you look here, the tub, so I'm going to have to fabricate this piece along here. So I'll fabricate that. Got plenty of steel and a certain set of skills which I might be able to use to do that. So here we are with this is the torsion bar outer tube housing, and where it bolts on at the end. Now, Now, so at the moment, this piece here has been, I cut it away here. So there's a weld in there. These are all equivalent spot welds. I still need to grind them a bit more, to be honest with you. And then I had to cut away the actual whole tubular section and all of this. So I had a replacement piece which came from here to here. I also had to cut away the torsion bar tube because it all rotted away with this beehive being in there. So I just replaced all that piece. Now you might say, well, surely that would have all just collapsed when you did that. And I'd agree with it, it would have collapsed. So I built a massive jig. I've got some pictures, I will insert them into the video. But it's really useful information, people. You might find that you've had this issue yourself and that you are looking at a way of addressing it. A lot of advice I received at the time was once you find that this area is gone, it's such a major job that you're basically better off scrapping the bus and just moving on to something else. But you know, there's a lot of money in these buses, so I wasn't keen on doing that. I am an engineer by background, so I just thought there's no problem, you can't address yourself. So I bought lots of box section steel and I built a jig, and a certain amount of it was welded on here, a certain amount of it was welded on there. I used the floor, I supported it. Basically cut the bus in half and had everything mounted up. There was a big mounting plate here which supported this part. Which supported this part of the chassis and then supported it on the other side, and it didn't move a jot, so it worked out really well. And then this is all replaced. There's possibly a little bit of finishing work up just to make the spot welds I've done equivalent and look a little bit tidier, but it's just a little bit more grinding work I need to do in it. And other than that, it's super structural and I've got everything back in place now. I'm just sort of trying to show you from some other angles. There is the hole in the floor because I needed that for access. So you can see here that we have some rot as well. So this whole panel will be replaced. So give ourselves a bit better light. So yeah, as we go down the further side here, the sill, probably cut some of that out and have a look and see what it's like on the inside. And then further down there, so I've got the same issue on the front wheel arch as well as I have on the other side, which is it's got a bit of rust pock marking, so I will cut that away and replace what needs to be replaced. But so a lot of work is at the back of the bus, and there is no engine in there, as you may have noticed. That's because the engine is somewhere else, which I will show you now. So here we have the VW Type 4 engine. So I have basically completely rebuilt this engine. The great engines, I really like them, but the previous 2 litre Type 4 I had in, I suffered a crankcase crack. Also there was end float issues with the crank, so it was all a bit worn out and knackered. It wasn't until I stripped the engine down that I found that I had the crack in the crankcases. I had to then source new crankcases, which I was talking to a guy in the UK from Stateside Engineering, and he had some cylinder heads that I could have, which were ex-Porsche 914 ones, big valve, so I was interested in buying them. He also had the crankcases. Then as you get involved in these conversations, you then think to yourself, well, let's stroke it and put bigger bore pistons in and then work along those lines. So it's now a 2.2. And I used Delorto DRLA 40s on it because that's what I'd always used previously. It did used to have fuel injection on the engine, but it didn't work very well when I first got it. In fact, it was absolutely knackered, so I got rid of it. It's on a balanced flywheel. Clutch is all on there at the moment. And then we've got, like I say, the cylinder heads are done. Big bore kit, stroked. It's got a torquey cam. And it's just all basically been rebuilt and loved. Runs beautifully. It's on the startup titles. It works really nicely, especially with the big exhausters as well. So that I've had back into the bus, got it running, made sure everything was okay. I've got the gearboxes just there. The gearbox has also been rebuilt, and that also worked brilliantly. So then it was the point in time where I then had to address the issues with the bodywork. So there is a bit of an issue on both sides with the old beehive. We're looking from under here. So I need to just investigate inside this one as well, like I have on the opposite side. But it's not too bad on this. I think strangely we had oil leaking down this side, which is, well, it's very useful leaking oil, isn't it, for preventing corrosion, and it might have been a bit of a godsend. But the bus itself, it's lovely. Obviously, the paintwork's going to have to be done once I've done all this welding work. Windows are going to come out. You often find issues with the bodywork around windows when you take them out, because the old-fashioned seal means that you can get water trapped in there. There is actually a bit of rust just there, so, but nothing too major. So yes, I'm hoping that that'll all go to quite well. I actually have this coming year off, so I'm going to just spend the time doing this because I just wanted to get it finished. And it's been such a great bus for us as a family. Really like to get it restored and get it working again. And you can follow me along on the journey. So my next tasks are, I have to cut out here. I've just started to mark out what to do with the rear quarter, but I'm gonna have to come round to this side as well. I can't see that it's gonna be as simple as just cutting a patch out like that, so I'm gonna bring it all the way round to the side. Then I can have a proper look inside there. The separation of the pieces that come up in here, they do sit further away, so hopefully I can just cut the outer skin, and I should then be able to get at the inner tube parts which have had it down the bottom. How far up I have to come, I don't know yet. I'm going to find out. This is all in really good condition above this sort of tray, so there's no real need to come up too high, and going on the principle of not removing good metal when you don't have to. I will just stick with that. I actually have the quarter panel there. This is a Klockner one. It's really nice condition. It's all still in its protective primer that they send it in, which will have to be stripped off. Also have a quarter panel for this side because I'm going to have to take off some. I'm going to have to probably do the same amount of quarter panel removing on this side. I want to try and keep the original seams if I can. It's nice to have an original seam. So yeah, if anybody has any recommendations, which is best to do first? Is it better to do the quarter panel first, or you're better off doing the arch panel first? Because these things all overlap each other, and I would be interested to know other people's opinions. So you could say in the comments what you think there. I'm no expert on doing this particular job. I've restored cars before, but I've never restored this bus that I've owned for a very long time. I did all the work on the engine. I originally converted to twin carbon, but they're easy tasks in my mind. Building this engine was an easy task. Rebuilding the bus it's a bit more out of my skill set, but it's nothing I'm worried about tackling. So there you go. There's a bit of a vloggy update on what's going on with my 1976 VW camper van. I'm going to try to do a sort of regular update on this, hopefully maybe weekly, might be a bit longer. I've got the year off, so I'm going to try to keep you updated with the progress of what goes on, and hopefully to the point where I actually get to paint it. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it. The welding work's the first. It's more about getting the paintwork done then, and then there's an interior. I do have the interior here. It's all on my racking system here. It's all stashed away. I've even got books on how to trim, because it had this awful sort of like a carpet or curtain material that had been put on it in America before it came over. It didn't have the original Westphalia check. It does in the roof. When I actually open up the roof, you can see that it's got the original check. But I do have a lot of cupboards and things. And I do wonder whether or not I should basically do a new interior. I've still got some of the cupboards in because I didn't need to take them out for what I was doing at the time. But yeah, I found a few interesting issues of a previous life. So it must have had some sort of crash in the past because it's got some kind of ropey welding going on there. It's not the best. And it has the same on the other side as well. So yeah, you can see there it's also had rubbish welding going on there. So I want to tidy that up as well because it's not the best. The floor's all solid, which is nice because there can be an issue. You have to see a lot of buses with issues there. This floor's in great condition, except for the fact I've cut a hole in it. Didn't really have a lot of choice in that because I need to be able to get at that on there. The one on the opposite side has a little bit of corrosion under it. But it's a small thing in comparison. It's just got a little bit of corrosion. I was thinking I might make a piece to just go under there and swap that out. I'll see how that goes. All the other parts of it just seem to be in great condition. So I don't want to get into too much work there. I don't have to. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed my little tour of our bus. Strangely, this bus is actually called Billy. And it's not a female Billy because my two daughters just always referred to it as Billy the Bus. My daughters just thought Billy the Bus is actually a bloke. So it's always been referred to as Billy, as kind of a member of the family, which is why I want to do this job. I want to get it sorted out so that he can be used again and get back on the road. And that is the ultimate aim here. We want to get Billy the Bus back on the road because I really do love driving this bus. It's really good fun driving a VW camper van if you've never had the opportunity to. And now I believe that I've done the work on the engine, that we will find that now it's just a bus that is not as slow as every other bus on the road. It will be less slow. It's not going to make it super fast or anything. It's a 2.2. And then with the carburation being improved on it as well and bigger main jets, it will produce a bit more power and a bit more torque, and it'll move a bit faster than everybody else's bus unless they've got something bigger in it. But ultimately, it's not going to be fast. I will be able to slow overtake other traffic, and hopefully we have lots of fun in it in times to come.